Cheering today to our results in Fuerteventura. Uda, you go first.
Well, it was a crazy event. Crazy. I'm stoked for you. You have your 23rd time world champion title now. And I got second place. I've been dying to, just become vice world champion again. And I had a blast.
So for those of you who don't know, we're actually in Fuerteventura right now competing at the Freestyle World Cup. And this event was going to decide the World Championship. So I won my 15th Freestyle World title and 23rd. Uda finished as Vice World Champion, which, I mean, your motto was to never give up, right? It was your goal since?
Well, last time was 2015. So that's like 9 years ago. And we had like 2 years not competing because of Corona. So that's like 7 times I've been... very close many times, and I just lost it every time.
Hashtag never give up.
This time, I had other plans.
Nice. So this is where we are now at the end of July. We're going to flash back quickly to Pozo and then talk you through this whole month, how we came to this point.
It's been a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride. So if we do a quick flashback to Pozo, we arrived there in the middle of June. And the contest started around the 29th of June until the 7th of July, I think. And we both signed up for wave and slalom. And to be very honest, it was a roller coaster. Training there, getting in the right mindset to compete, getting in the right mindset to compete for both disciplines, and then also realizing that the disciplines can be mixed. Like one day you'll be sailing slalom and the next day you could be sailing wave. It was mentally really, really challenging. And How did that week go for you, Uda?
Well, I think the week before I came there a couple of weeks before the event. And the week before we started the competition, I think I remember calling my mom. I was like, Mom, I don't want to compete. I had a bit back problems. It was 45 knots every day or 40 knots. And I was just never really comfortable. And actually after day by day, it got a bit better. And in the end, it's like, you know what? The year I broke my foot, I also signed up for competing in wave and slalom, and I wanted to do everything, but then I didn't get the chance. So this was kind of my comeback year of wanting to do it all. So then I got myself together. I think you gave me a pep talk, and I was like, let's sign up. Let's not go the easy way. So it was a good thing.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting to actually be there and see you go through that, because I know you're such a good windsurfer, and then I realized that you were having mentally, it's like you didn't have confidence in your own abilities or something. So I didn't understand what was happening, because I know you're a very confident person and also a very strong competitor. So to see you struggle a little bit like that was a bit surprising to me, and I wonder what it was.
Yeah, I think that just the whole year I just had freestyle on my mind. I only been training freestyle. And we did some slalom in Aruba, but the thing is I didn't get my gear on time, so I didn't manage to train a lot of slalom. So I also didn't do a lot of waves. So it's like I didn't feel prepared, even though I have had there some weeks there, and I've been windsurfing a lot the year, but just too much freestyle and not much of the other stuff, which was the plan. But then I guess when I saw everyone else doing just one discipline, super hyper focused on that, I felt a bit half and half. But in the end, it was the best thing I could have done to do it all.
I think that's the thing when you do more disciplines, right? At least that's my problem, because I feel like I don't want to miss out on anything, so I want to do everything. But at the same time, when I'm doing one discipline, I'm looking at the other and seeing that everyone else is only training that. And I kind of feel like, maybe I should be sticking to one discipline and focusing on that. But then at the same time, I also want to do the other discipline. Yeah. And then, like you said, you kind of feel half and half, and as if you're not putting in 100% in everything. So that I think that makes it hard before competition. Because I went through the same roller coaster, I think, about 2 days before the contest. I wanted to buy my ticket and fly out of Pozo, because the pressure was killing me. Yeah. And I don't think it's outside pressure, it's just my own, because I really want to perform well in everything. Yeah. And at some point I was like, no, I don't want to compete anymore. I think I'm just going to go home to Aruba and lay in bed.
But I think there's some outside pressure also, because me seeing it from the outside, I kind of expect you to win all the time. But in the end, you shouldn't put that on you, of course. But do you?
Outside pressure?
Yeah.
I can feel it a little bit from other people. They have like these expectations, whereas I, like, for example, in a place like that in Gran Canaria where it's so extremely windy, I feel like it's not even competing against the competitors. It's mostly you against the elements because it's so strong out there.
Yeah.
And you're the one that needs to pull the trigger on a stalled forward when you're massively overpowered on the 3-3, or when you're racing and you're on your 5-3 and you can't even close the sail, but there's like 10 other women that are going down the leg at full speed. You're the one that needs to navigate that and go full speed over that job. So it's super challenging mentally, I think, mostly because of the conditions. And I'll be honest, like I think I woke up many mornings with a little bit of anxiety, because like, what conditions are we getting today? And wow, I'm gonna be out there with everyone competing, like you really need to. You're completely out of your comfort zone 10 days long.
I think dealing with competition stress is good for like a short time. But this is like a 9-day event. And because we did both disciplines, we were basically on the water almost every day.
Yeah.
And I think I maybe told you, like, if I will feel this kind of stress every day, I think I will get a heart attack in 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's just for a short time, luckily. But it feels so good when you finish and you feel like you learned something and improved, and that's like the best feeling. The best feeling is when you managed.
Yeah, so what were your results at this event, and how did you feel actually competing in both disciplines?
Yeah, so I was actually surprised. I got a 6th place overall in slalom, which for me was really good because I am more like a light wind slalom sailor. So if it's 7 or 7-8, I'm way more prepared. This was really windy. I came to Pozo with my small sail as 5.5. Realized very fast that it was way too big. Liam luckily lent me a 4.6, and I was overpowered on 4.6 every single day. So that was the only sail I was using actually. And I think it started well because I got a 3rd place in the first race. And I was like, oh wow, actually, if I just manage to stay on the board, I think I can manage to do well. And for me, getting an overall 6th place after how many finals we did? 11?
Yeah, 11 or 12.
Yeah, it was, I'm happy about that. And it gave me a lot of, it was a challenge. And what about you?
I think you probably earned the biggest jump on the Slalom X course, no? Like we're talking about slalom, but we actually competed in Slalom X, which means they had different obstacles during the competition, and we've experienced having to jump over the buoys. We did a chicane, and we had like a long distance opening leg. Yeah. So there's different things, but I think the jumping was the most exciting.
Yeah, a lot of things went through my head actually, because in that race, we had, like, right before the buoy, like, maybe 8-10 meters before not the buoy, but the line we had to jump over, like, a massive jump came. And I was just calculating, if I just take off here and manage to fly over, if the girls in front of me will crash, I will probably pass them. So what happens is in the air, I go all in the air, and then the girl up on me is actually falling. So you can see that I'm stretching out my leg to kind of prepare for maybe not crashing. But then I see the line, I still didn't pass the line. So I'm tucking up my back leg again, and I just make it over. And that was a sick race.
I saw it from the beach actually, because that's the one race I got disqualified for going over early, which is always a bummer. But then I sat there and I was following the race, cool. Some people are ahead, and then all of a sudden I see this red sail like 2 meters above the rest. And then I realized you were jumping that high. So I think they got some pretty cool footage and photos of that. That was pretty awesome. And I think it's, me personally, I was not super excited about the Slalom X. I thought it was unnecessary because I think slalom is exciting enough. And then in Pozo, especially with the conditions, it's already exciting. But then the moment we started doing the jumps and adding the chicane and stuff, it just added this element of technicality, kind of. And you'd have to be a little bit more, you had to calculate much more how you were going to do your race. And in the end, I absolutely loved it. So
you know what I calculated the most?
What did you calculate?
It was like, I was not so fast in the straight line. So every time one of the fastest girls would like fall because they hit the obstacle, I was like, okay, that's one more spot. So that was like, I liked it. And it's not good that it's good that people fall in front of you, but like in my case, it helped me. I think.
I mean, I think it shows. You have to be an overall good windsurfer. You know, like if you're going fast in a straight line, great. But how fast can you go around the course? And then also, I mean, the jump was really not that hard. It was just a piece of rope and
everyone managed to do it.
Yeah, and after the first race, like people were struggling, like in both in the men and the women. And towards the end of the contest, it was just getting better and better.
Yeah.
What I just like about it is that the race is like anything can happen at any point during the race.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't over until the end, because even at the last mark, which they put like in breaking waves near the bunker in Pozo Izquierdo, people were getting sideswept by the waves and ended up on the bunker, you know. So I even saw Jordi Vonk like missing his boom 2 meters before the line.
Yeah, and he was ahead of.
Yeah, and he was ahead. Like I think there was some crazy gust that just pulled it out of his arm. So
yeah, it was. Radical.
I'm getting excited talking about it again, because we're gonna be competing in tomorrow.
And rumor says here we're gonna have 2 jumps.
We might have 2 jumps here, yeah. So, I mean, that was it for the slalom. It was really, really exciting. For myself, I managed to win it, which I am super stoked about, because I love racing. I'm actually sad that I was sad when the foiling came in, the game that we were mixing everything, and I felt like the fin was not getting the chance to shine against the foil. And now that it's separate,
it's shining.
It's shining again. And winning in Pozo feels amazing. And
I guess it was a bit more relaxed for you because you first did the win in waves.
Yeah. This year I finally got the win in waves in Pozo as well, which I've been kind of hunting for years. I think it's the one event that I never really. That's just the one event I really wanted to win, because again, it's
first time winning.
Yeah,
it's Pozo.
It's in waves, because I've won the freestyle there.
Yeah.
In. Like 15 years ago.
You've been so long in the game.
Yeah, I've been in the game for a while. What I wanted to say is that, this year, I mean, Daida was not competing, but still, the conditions were really tough, and we were competing against Lina Erpenstein, there was Maria Morales, Alexia Kiefer, Pauline.
Hey, they improved so much.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see.
They're part of the young crew, but they're really, really pushing.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that I got this win now, because I'm not sure we're going to have the chance in the later years. So in my case in Pozo, we did a dingle, and we went all the way to the final of the waves, and I won that, and waves was over for me. So by the time I started slalom, I could just focus on slalom. Whereas you, on the last day we did the last race, you actually had to come back, de-rig your slalom stuff, start rigging your wave gear, and you had to do your double elimination comeback.
On the last day.
On the last day.
Goodness. And the wind was so strong also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing about Pozo this year is that the forecast actually never looked really strong. And it said, like the next day was always going to be a little bit light. And then you wake up the next morning and it was extremely windy.
Yeah.
So even on that last day, we competed in super strong winds.
And we're not talking 30 knots.
No, 40 gusting 45 knots.
Yeah.
Yes. Which means you were competing on your 3-3.
In waves, yeah.
On the last day. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about how for you it's how this event was such a win for you, because 2 years ago you actually broke your foot.
Yeah.
And I know you don't like to talk about it, but I think it's really badass to be back in those conditions and actually. So what I'm trying to say is, like, we actually were training and you were going for push loops and stuff and not really doing it in training, and then the moment the green flag goes up, like, your first move was a push loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you decide to all of a sudden pull the trigger?
Yeah, I when I came to Pozo, I realized I was actually traumatized from breaking my foot there, and I didn't know, because I feel completely fine when I freestyle. But when I suddenly got to Pozo, I was like, shit, it's like 40-45 knots, and like I haven't done much jumping since the injury, and I realized I was traumatized, and that's why I was also thinking, like, you know what, I don't want to compete.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, I either don't compete and will feel for myself like I didn't reach my potential, or I just switch my negativity into positivity and just let's go. So the moment the green flag goes up, I was like, I know how to do push loops. So it's cool because I actually landed one in every heat. Actually, all the push-ups I tried, I sailed out of.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't know, but this move, I've been thinking about it every day. It's not very stylish or anything, but at least like I got around and got some points for it. So that was a win for me, and that's why I wanted to do the competition. I didn't sign up for the waist to win waist because I know have not put in the training to do that, but I wanted to do it like for myself to prove that Pozo is not gonna take me. I'm gonna take Pozo.
Yeah, you really overcame yourself, I think, at this contest, and you came out a better windsurfer.
Yeah, definitely.
But double win in Pozo, which is an amazing way to end the contest. And definitely we were back on a high on our roller coaster. But we were both tired, and ahead of the Fuerteventura event, we had 2.5 weeks off. So we decided to take a break, kind of. I flew back home to Aruba. I wanted to have some time with my family before a long stint of traveling again. And you went back to Morocco, which I think is maybe your favorite place to freestyle.
Yeah.
And perfect training ground also before this event in Fuerte. So maybe you want to talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so I just flew from Pozo to Dakla. It's like a 1-hour flight. I wasn't sure if they would take my gear, but they did. And when I came there, I just had like 10 to 12 days on the water there. It was insane. Like that's my most happiness of freestyling is consistent wind, flat water, quite strong wind. And you feel like everything is possible. Like in the morning when the low tide was happening, I saw myself like running to the water because I was so motivated. So I think I hit the peak of like motivation and exactly what I needed before this World Cup. And I know that that's what Dakla is doing to me. It gives me like that super motivation. So yeah, I just put myself in that situation, and I think that was really important.
Yeah. For me, sometimes it's the opposite. I feel like I need some time off from windsurfing to kind of get better again. So when I went back to Aruba, I had some off days. I was definitely very tired from the contest and the travels. But I did go freestyling after a few days. And yeah, it was good to get on the water and just do that. So I think my break in Aruba was a bit more laid back. So by the time I got here to Fuerte, I was like really motivated to get on the water. So now it's... third week of July, and we're back in Fuerteventura, back in action. If we count the contests that we're doing this month alone, it's wave and slalom in Pozo, 2 contests, and then freestyle and slalom in Fuerteventura. So 4 contests this month, which is, I calculated, about 20 days of being nervous and not being able to eat properly. But here we are, here we're doing it. And
so you don't eat when you're nervous? Is that
I can't really eat when I'm competing, especially with freestyle and slalom. I tend to I can eat breakfast, but then the rest of the day is just I can't.
Yeah.
So I just try to drink a lot of water. Sorry.
I hope you got enough energy. Anyways, I also feel it with it's a bit hard to have the same appetite. And so it's 20 days of being nervous. That's a lot in 1 month.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel it as well. And you know what happened to me yesterday during competition? Before the final against you?
What?
I puked. and I was completely fine. Sailed the heat against Mike, passed. And I've been ill the last 3 days before this, the last final. But suddenly I puked in the water. I was like, I hope no one sees me. And that was 3 minutes before the green flag. I was like, oh shit, I gotta get myself together. And so I think that's also a sign of being excited, and you kind of things are going okay, and that's just a body reaction.
Yes, never happened to me.
I could not believe it.
Oh man. But the start of this event was not really good, right? You arrived here without your gear. It's actually still in Morocco.
Yeah, it's crazy. I put an AirTag in my bag, and I've been checking every day. It's still in Morocco. There are planes going from Morocco to the Canaries weekly, and still they just don't want to send it. So
it's a 1-hour flight.
It's a 1 hour, yeah. It's crazy. So I don't know, but my Severn teammates came together, and Mike, Bals, and Dieter, they all helped me out. So in the end, I could compete on gear that I've been using before. So, and I had an extra board, so it was all good. Maybe apart from my old wetsuit. That's still my competition wetsuit is still in Morocco. So maybe. Oh, you wanted to ask me about that.
Yeah, there's a bit of a story on your wetsuit
Shit.
there. If you're looking at the photos from both Pozo and Fuerte, have a quick look, and you see that Uda's wetsuit is just getting shorter and shorter. And
Maybe
then
I just grew.
I think one day you have sleeves and the next day you don't. So I've seen her cut her wetsuit every day a little shorter. I think the one on the leg, it was like splitting a bit, so you decided to
Yeah.
cut it on your...
But Sarah, this wetsuit is so old. Like, the reason why I took it is because it doesn't push much on the body. So when you do slalom, you want to have wetsuit that's not tight at all.
Yeah.
But for freestyle, you don't necessarily need that. But that's the wetsuit I was stuck with. So I was just waiting for it to like rip completely during the live stream or something. So it would have been embarrassing.
So yeah, if you look now at the photos, it looks like you're growing out of that wetsuit. Yeah, so for myself, when I got here to Fuerte, I actually rigged my new Pride sails, the Wizards, and I have to say that I'm completely in love with it. It might have to do with the color. Every year that I have purple sails, they work amazing, and
That's a very interesting.
it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing, but like all my purple sails have been insane. So same with this 4.0. I rigged the thing. I went on the water, and the lift that I was getting was insane. So
Actually, I could see it straight away.
yeah.
That the lift you got was like next level.
I was discussing this actually with Jentel as well. And there's a difference between unpacking brand new sails and then sailing them for a while. Some people don't like it. But with these sails, the first couple of sessions are like extra explosive. And then, of course, the sail stretches a little bit and then it becomes a little more baggy. But yeah, that first session just feels magical. Having said that, the first couple of days here in Fuerte were extremely windy. I was...
Yeah.
like stacked on my 4.0 every single day, which I didn't expect. I tend to sail 4.4 here most of the time, and on some windy days 4.0, but I was just stacked on 4.0 every day. And that's how we started the first day of the contest also. Yeah. We actually had a bit more side shore conditions in the beginning before the event with a little bit of waves, and then a bit unusual for the contest, it became super offshore.
And Dakhla conditions.
A bit Dakhla conditions. I think Dakhla is easier because here on the way out,
sure.
You have like the chop of death.
The way out was hard, yeah.
It was very difficult. So competing in the single elimination, it was actually super tough. For myself, I feel like when there's a bit of a wave, I can be a bit more creative and I have a bit more space and I can go higher with the wave so that I can do different moves. Whereas when it gets flatter, it's much more choppy and you can't really get the air that you get with the waves, and sliding moves are also difficult. So I personally think that competing on the single was pretty tough. Okay, so after a few days of training, the competition was starting, and we were all caught by surprise completely because... Well, I've been competing for I calculated the first time I was in Fuerte was in 2006 when I was 15. Wow. And it's 18 years later. And I've been reminded about it every single day here. But, I tend to tell myself, you know what? You have a lot of experience. You know how to compete in any conditions here. So, sorry, yeah. Wait, you can cut that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been competing on the tour for a while, so I kind of have a sense of how the day is gonna run, but I was so surprised when they decided to put the women up first. I went to the skippers meeting all chilled, all my gear was still up in the tent, and I calculated like usually they will start with the men and then they start with the women, so I'd probably have like 2.5-3 hours before I start. And then we go to skippers meeting and Peak, the head judge, is like, yes, everybody, we start with the women first. I think that's more an Italian accent.
Yeah, not so Spanish.
Not so Spanish. So yeah, within half an hour, the women were supposed to be on the water. So I had a mini panic attack, checked the board, and then realized I was the 4th heat, which means I had an extra half an hour. Uda, on the other hand, was the 1st heat up. And then we still had to take a group photo, right?
Yeah, like a group photo. I was like, we gotta get this group photo going fast because... Then it was like around 20 minutes for me till green flag is up,
Yeah.
So I had to go get the gear, but I had all the gear ready and rigged and perfectly tuned from the evening session in the evening. So I was ready, and then first I was like, oh shit, I'm the first. He's like, why me? I was looking at all the competitors like, why am I starting first? Like, oh, all these people. And then I realized, let's change my mindset. So I told the girl that I was sailing against, like, you know what an honor, we get to open the World Cup. So it was cool. It was good to just kick it off, and I really loved these conditions. Actually, it was hard to go out, but coming in, like, it was proper good conditions for moves, and yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, so talk me through your most important heat that day.
Yeah, that was in the semi-final against Mikey. We always have like crazy battles. She's been winning most of them for a long time, and I just really felt good. So I managed to just take one move at a time, and this year, many times in Fuerte, when I'm done with the competition, I'm not feeling like super satisfied because I didn't do the moves that I normally would do in training, for example, because it's just hard. But this time I was like, you know what, with my cam, I need to go for the burner, go for the air funnel, go for the scope with the more power moves that I'm training all the time. Like, I want to do this in competition, and it worked out. And I just loved like how my mindset was working this day, and that I really felt in the moment, and I just enjoyed it a lot actually. And I didn't know who won, and apparently we had equal points until the last 10 seconds. And then I was like, you know what, many times she pulled a couple of moves against me in the last second, and she would take it, and then I would be like, and this time I was like, let me go for that Schowitz-Bock. Yeah. And I landed it on the way out. I couldn't believe it. And that was like, it was a bit of a magic happening right there. So when I came back, people said that I won. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in the final against Sarah. Yeah.
Kind of the same scenario as last year. Because last year you also had kind of your comeback again after your broken foot. And you sailed like a champion. And then you made it to the final as well. And I kind of saw the same thing happening this year. For the ones that don't really know, like, sorry, in my experience with you, honestly, you're extremely competitive with pretty much everything. And I've experienced that a lot, but also during competition in freestyle here, I feel like sometimes like you really start well and then you don't always get your move. Whereas last year, the way you were sailing, like I was so inspired and impressed. You just kind of put your mind to doing certain moves, and even moves that I haven't really seen you do in a while, you just decided to do that. Yeah. And this year again, like you started your heat off pretty well, you were doing okay, but like busting that last shove at Spock was like, wow, she really wanted that win. And I think that was really cool to watch. Yeah. To see that competitiveness come out.
Because like I don't know if you have it sometimes, but it's like sometimes I feel like I need to just save it and land moves that are more safe. But actually the moves that I've been training, it's almost more likely I'm going to land more of these power moves because that's what I've been training instead of trying more of these same moves that are less points. Mm. So I felt to go all or nothing, kind of.
Yeah.
With trying to be confident in them.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I feel like I was very nervous, actually, the whole contest, but especially during the single elimination. It threw me a bit off. It threw me a little bit off that they started with the women first, which obviously it doesn't matter, but it's just I just calculated more time, and now all of a sudden I had to run and get everything down to the beach and get on the water, which is fine. I had enough time, but I tend to take my time during the day to mentally prepare before getting on the water, and now I just had to like switch all of a sudden. I've done it before, but I was struggling with it a bit more now. I was thinking about it. I think it has to do with competing in slalom and waves before. I feel like those contests you have more time to perform well, whereas in freestyle or freestyle heat, it was 7 minutes, and you have to perform three tricks on each tack, but you have 7 tries, so you could potentially do 7 and 7, which is 14 tricks, and the minimum you have to do is 6 tricks in 7 minutes. So actually a freestyle heat is very stressful. Mm-hmm. So if you think about all the moves that you need to throw down, I think that made me very nervous, and I wasn't really, didn't feel so confident.
And maybe coming from a wave heats where you're competing 18 minutes or something,
Yeah.
60 minutes and you're gonna do just 2 jumps in 2 ways. It's crazy.
Yeah, we had 12 or 14 minutes in Poso to land 2 jumps
Yeah.
and 2 waves, you know? That's just...
Wow.
There's so much more time in a heat like that. So I feel like I couldn't really shake off the nerves. Even though I had my best heats were my 2 first heats. Actually, they were really good heats, but I felt nervous all the way through, which is really weird. I tend to like lose the nerves once I start competing. But I'm very happy with the heats that I did. I landed burners, I landed spaculo.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Both hits.
Yep. Scopo. Funnily enough, I was crashing flacas and shakas and even loop on the way out, which was a bit weird, I think. The gusts were very strange and I caught my rail twice on a flaca, which it's a move I can do with my eyes closed 100 times in a row. But not in this contest.
Yeah.
And I most of us were struggling with that move particularly.
It was
I
like
think
you couldn't get the power out of the sail somehow. It was weird. It was like offshore and sideshore at the same time. So that was it was tricky.
Yeah, I think the wind was it was shifting a lot. But yeah, in the end it was a lovely holiday Windsurf University final, which was really cool. I was still mega overpowered on the 4.0. I was still very nervous, and I feel like this was maybe my unfortunately not the best sailing I've done. I did quite some crashing, but at the same time, the moves that I landed, the good moves that I landed were really good, but then I also crashed some moves. And I don't know how your heat was in that final.
Yeah, so I felt like I landed good moves, but I landed like a little bit wet here, like not perfect, and I didn't feel like as good as the heat before, but the condition also got harder, like it got more choppy and stronger. And also being on 4.0, it was pretty hectic. But I had like air funnel and scopo and like some good moves, but I just wanted to land a bit cleaner, and it was like hard to even do a shaka on the way out. So I was a bit of a dramatic on the beach actually. Because they informed us wrong.
That also,
What happened?
Actually, I got back to the beach, and you kind of know when you win or lose because the media comes to you straight. And then I got to the beach, and I saw you were giving the interviews already. I was like, I think maybe I lost this heat. So I just like walked calmly to you, and I sat next to you and I was listening a bit to you chatting, and it kind of sounded like Uda took the win. So then at some point I got up, I was like, Uda, did you get it? And they said, yeah, she got it. So I gave you a hug, and I was genuinely very happy for you because I felt like the way you were sailing, you really deserved it.
But you know, it was and Jackson was like showing the scores.
Yeah.
And it said I won with 0.1.
Yeah.
And like one trick is like maybe like 5-6 points, for example.
Yeah, so that's really close.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
But then when she said it, I didn't feel any happiness. I almost felt sad. Because I also didn't have a very good hit. And my feeling was like, no, it cannot be true. She's like, yeah, you did it. You did it on your own. I was like, no. And I was like, did Sarah break a mast or what? Because that's when people always ask me, can you beat Sarah? I will be like, yeah, if she breaks a mast, maybe. So I didn't feel like, I was good that I didn't celebrate like crazy because 10 minutes later, they said, oh, no, actually, Uda, you lost with 0.4.
I think right after I congratulated you, you walked off to the water to take a winning shot with JC. And then I looked at Sarah Jackson and she kind of went like, oh shit. And I looked at her phone and I see that they like changed the scores and that I ended up winning. And both of us looked at each other and we looked at you taking the photo with JC and we're like, oh man. So then I was just waiting a bit for what the actual results would be. And after a few minutes, they confirmed that I actually won by 0.4 points, which was really, really close.
But I think we can both say that we both didn't have the best heat. Even though we had good moves, but I think if you would have said your best heat and I would have said my best heat, like, I think it's fair to say that you would have taken the win because you are the better windsurfer, and I felt like that it was a bit fair.
Yeah, you can say that, but it's still competition. You need to perform during the heat.
I know, but I didn't feel like that heat was like... Also, winning by 0.1 is like... It should almost be it almost should be like you should win with a certain amount of points, because 0.1 is like... It really is nothing. It's one judge putting like a little bit more for the style here and there, and then boom. you win or not, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, but it's harder to judge them. For example, a slalom race where the first one that comes to the finish line wins.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was good the way it went.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part of a subjective sport like this. So yeah, finally, on the first day, we straight away finished the single elimination. We finished in first and second place, and that's kind of more than 90% of the work done, because after that, we have the double elimination. You just need to defend your spot. So the furthest I can go down is second place, and the furthest that Uda could go down is third place. And I could either keep my first place, or Uda could actually come up, keep your second place, drop to third, or even win. So there's so many things that could still happen.
And you know what was weird to think about? That I was thinking, my goal is just to get on the podium.
Yeah.
But the moment you are in a position where you're like, but shit, I have second place now. No way I want to drop down to third. Like, it will feel like the end, you know?
Yeah.
But if you will be in third, if you would drop down to fourth, that will feel like the end also. So it's weird. The moment you are in a position like you won, and for example, for you to go down, it would just be, yeah, you really, really want it. So the double elimination, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, there is actually.
Like a lot of pressure. And sometimes it almost feels better to have lost a few heats, so you have some warm-up hits before you get to the real competition also.
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty hard to wait for your
Yeah.
competitor to come up against you, because you feel like that person kind of had a warm-up. They're actually in the flow, and you're kind of getting on the water cold.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tough to see someone
I had a
climb their
tactic for
rankings.
that.
Yeah.
Like I was, when the girls before my heat were fighting about who will sail against me, I just put my earplugs in and I just went on the water, and I had no idea how they would do or anything, because I just could not focus on that. I just had to like focus on myself, and that was my tactic, and I think it worked out.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it, because if you're going to watch who's going to go against you, you're too focused on the other people. In the end, you can only control your own performance. So we had about 3 days off because they were running the double of the men. There was a bit of lack of wind, and then finally yesterday, it was the day before the end of the contest, but today the forecast was that there wouldn't be any wind for the last day, so they really pushed to finish the double yesterday. And unlike the first day, I was actually sailing on my 4.8, a little bit underpowered, and it was still kind of flat. So it was a completely different playing field than the first day. So
4.8 in Fuerte, like that doesn't happen.
I've competed on 4.8 before. It's it happens. It happens during competition specifically. Like you sail on all the other gear on 4.0 overpowered before contest, and then during the contest you get total opposite.
Yeah.
But again, you had another really important heat against Maaike.
Yeah.
How did that one go?
Oh, it was a bit like a dream, actually. I saw in the live stream later that she was leading. She was landing all the moves, I think. And I landed my moves as well, but like the first moves were a little bit not clean landing, for example. And then I just in my side I saw that she went for a culo, and I was like, you know what? That's a move I really need also. There was not enough wind to really go switch or do any like really, really power moves. So I just went for it and did some, in the end, like little air funnel and culo and kono, and then I had time to get a better shaka, planing flaka, and just getting all the moves good. And then I had no idea if I won or not, but I sailed back to the beach, and then Tati came out. He's like, you won, and I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, but then I was like, I don't believe it now, because sometimes they tell me the wrong stuff at the beach. Yeah. And when I came back, I think I just came to the beach and I just say to Sarah, I did a culo. Yeah. But it was just like, I was just stoked to like adjust to the conditions, and that I felt like I now can do the moves that I need for the different kind of wind strength. And that felt good. And yeah, and the wind was okay in that heat. And then I sailed against you, and I definitely took the wrong sail size, didn't move around, and didn't have enough power in my sail. But I didn't realize that the wind actually even dropped. But it did. But Sarah was freestyling around me, and you even crashed into me almost one time.
I got really close to you, and I missed the foot strap, and then just had a catapult near you. So we had a little chat there. Uda's like, oh, it's not windy. And I was like, Uda, just go.
Yeah, I'm trying, but... Yeah. But in the end, if they had to keep running, because we really need to have the final. And if you saw, like, just a few minutes after the finals, there was no wind.
Yeah, it just dropped.
We went out for a photo session with the photographers, and I couldn't plan even.
Yeah.
So it was good. I'm super happy with you taking the win, and super happy with the second place. It's a big deal, I think.
You also, like, you were messing around on the beach with your sails for a bit, no? Like, trying to get it all right. And in the end, like, these small adjustments, they make a big difference.
Exactly. I think the team managers in Severn were just, like, sending a few people there if I needed help, because they saw me, like, running around changing 3 booms. And in the end, it was just, I got a really good trim, and 3 minutes before the heat, I pulled a little bit more on the outhole, and that made the difference of getting that extra whip in the conditions. So yeah, it might seem that we are, like, stressing right before, but these small adjustments, they give you this extra edge.
Yeah, because you don't have any time to waste, right? You have 8 minutes to do your move, and if you miss your duck once, you're losing 30 seconds or 40 seconds. So everything just needs to be perfect. Even me, I went out on my 4/8 a couple of times, and I had my big boom on there, like my 150 boom. And it's just because I had the other booms on my smaller sails, but I'm just not used to that boom. So it was just a very mental thing to change that 150 boom to a 140 boom.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
For my mind, yeah. And yeah, it was very important. It's very important, even if just for your mind, to have everything correct, I think. And I did the same in my heat against you. I made sure that as long as I could duck my sail properly, or I landed 1 culo before the heat, and it's like, okay, now my sail is working and I feel confident and I can go. And in this heat, it was quite light on the 4/8, but I tried to use the swell to get a bit speed. And towards the end of the heat, there were some bigger gusts coming through. So in the beginning, I actually did a bit more sliding moves, and I was much more focused on just filling the score sheet.
Should we talk about your one-handed spock?
My one-handed spock, it only comes out during competition. I think it's something that I took over from Kiri back in the day. But, like, you can do a move or you can do a one-handed move, and then you get a little bit extra points. But I got to make sure that they see that arm. So, like, when I do my one-handed spock, like, I have my arms stretched out.
Super elegant.
Super elegant as far as I can, so that I make sure that they see that I'm doing the move one-handed.
But the fun at the breakfast today was that dude that Adam Sims said, like, they saw it's like you waving to crowd, but because it didn't move going out, there was no crowd there.
No crowd. Actually, I did the same thing going in. I think I did the spock one-handed also going in like this.
Yeah.
But I gotta make sure the judges see my one hand. So yeah, I finished my heat actually doing a culo, and I'm pretty happy about. Yeah, it was good. So yeah, that was it. That's the end of the freestyle contest. I was nervous all the way to the end, and all of a sudden it's over, and so we get the
slalom X.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about our contest experience in Pozo and Fuerteventura. Maybe a little bit too much details, but maybe it's interesting to know for you. We're actually looking forward to doing the Slalom X here in Fuerteventura. We're going to crown the Slalom X World Champion here in Fuerte, so it's going to be another exciting week coming up.
And you're the favorite to win it because you won Pozo.
Yeah, I'm leading the rankings right now, for sure. Which, it puts me in a really good position for that title, but there's still a whole week of races to come. And the event here is actually going to be mixed with foiling. So one day we're going to be foiling, one day we're going to be on the fin. Thank goodness I'm not foiling this year, so I can just focus on the fin. But it's going to be very exciting. And I think this event, I really enjoyed racing here last year. And after sailing in Pozo, I'm sure we can handle anything. So it's going to be exciting this week. Are you looking forward to the racing?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just told myself I'm not even going to think about the Slalom X before we're done with the freestyle. But today we're done with the freestyle, and now I feel like my mind is straight going in the right direction towards the Slalom X. So it's going to be fun. So stay tuned. Check it out on the PWA live stream.
See you in the next one.